Welcome to today's deep dive. I want you to start by picturing a digital scenario that I guarantee you found yourself in recently.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about the last time you clicked an Add to Calendar button for an upcoming event.
Right.
Maybe it was a crucial industry webinar, or a concert you were excited about, or a major sporting event. You click the button and a little file downloads, you open it, and the event populates onto your digital schedule.
And you feel organized.
Exactly, you feel organized, but then almost immediately, your inbox is absolutely bombarded.
Oh, yeah.
You start getting these relentless, annoying email reminders from the event organizer, messages blaring, "Are you still coming?" Or, don't forget, make sure it's on your calendar.
Yeah, and they're blasting those emails to you because, frankly, despite you taking the action to save the date, they have absolutely no idea if you're actually going to show up.
Right.
It's a fundamentally disconnected process. Really, it's a hangover from the early days of the web. You did your part as the user, but the organizer is left completely in the dark. They're sitting there hoping you actually executed the download and saved the date. And to overcompensate for that data blind spot,
They resort to spamming your primary email inbox.
exactly, it creates massive friction on both ends of the transaction.
Well, today we're going to look at how that entire frustrating experience is being completely rewritten from the ground up.
It really is.
Our source material for this deep dive is a technical and honestly highly revealing article published today, March 4th, 2026. It's by Greg Hanshin, and it's titled Drive Tickets and Merch Sales for Sporting Events with Built-in Calendar Invite Buttons.
A very detailed piece.
It is. And our mission today is to explore exactly how this simple, everyday digital action, just adding an event to a calendar, is being completely overhauled.
Yep.
We're going to look at how organizers are removing user friction, generating live sales directly inside your schedule, and capturing really rich RSVP data.
Which is huge.
It is. Think of it this way. A traditional calendar invite is basically a static Post-it note. You stick it on your desk, and it just sits there, completely unchanging.
Just collecting dust.
Right. But the solution we're diving into today turns that static Post-it note into a live, interactive, two-way communication channel.
And moving from a static notification to a dynamic interactive pipeline, that requires a massive architectural shift.
Definitely.
But to truly appreciate the elegance of the solution, we have to look closely at why the current standard is failing so spectacularly for both businesses and consumers.
Okay, let's unpack this. The fundamental, fatal flaw in the standard workflow we all use right now revolves around the widely accepted standard of the .ics file.
Yeah, the classic ICS.
Currently, millions of events every single day rely on a generated Add to Calendar button that spits out this ICS download to your computer or your phone.
And that download is essentially a dead end.
Yes, it's a one-way street of information.
What's fascinating here is the sheer amount of dual friction this creates.
Right.
When you download that standard ICS file, the file itself is entirely one-directional. It does not pass back any Y, N, or M data to the organizer.
Yes, no, or maybe.
Exactly. Because of this massive blind spot regarding Y, N, or M RSVPs, organizers are forced into a really clunky secondary workaround.
Which we've all experienced.
They usually have to pair that initial Add to Calendar button with a totally separate web form just to gather your attendance data independently from the actual calendar download.
Which is incredibly annoying for you, the user. You click to add the event, thinking you're done, but then you're routed to a landing page where you still have to go fill out a form, inputting your email all over again just to tell them you're coming.
It's terrible UX.
It's two separate steps that waste your time. But let's look at this from the organizer's perspective. If I'm hosting a massive virtual summit, why can't I just push an update to that ICS file if my keynote speaker changes times?
Because once that standard ICS file is rendered on your personal calendar, the organizer's effectively locked out.
Locked out completely.
They have zero ability to update it dynamically. If a location changes, or if they want to offer you a new VIP upgrade, they cannot alter the very calendar event they originated.
Wow.
This locked door scenario is exactly why they're forced to send those annoying post-registration emails. They have to rely on your email inbox to say, hey, the time changed, make sure your calendar reflects this, or to desperately push product launches and promotions.
Because they can't reach you any other way.
Right. The calendar event itself is a walled garden they can no longer access.
It's a fragmented mess that relies on the user constantly checking their email to manually update their own calendar. But the architecture introduced in our source material presents a major aha solution to fix this.
It really does.
It introduces calendar invite buttons that are actually built as a REST API, complete with a built-in calendar invite pipeline.
And this can be used across both email campaigns and custom web pages.
It essentially creates one button to rule them all. I can see how this changes the game completely for a sports fan, for instance.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's look at the specific NBA example detailed in the text to understand the customer experience. Instead of bouncing between a ticketing site, your email inbox, and your calendar application, you're simply browsing a custom-developed sports event page for the NBA.
Right.
You enter your email address into a single field on that page. Then you click one button to select the specific games you want to attend, and boom! Instantly, you receive a calendar invite directly in your inbox and inside your calendar client.
See, the REST API architecture completely changes the flow of data here. Instead of handing you a disconnected file, the system establishes and maintains a constant live connection.
A live connection.
Yes, the data collection magic happens the moment you interact with that invite. When you, the customer, receive that invite and click Y, N, or M directly inside your calendar client, whether that's Apple Calendar, Outlook, or Google, that data is instantly captured and sent straight back to the API for reporting.
So no forms?
None. You don't have to navigate to a separate website. You don't have to fill out a secondary RSVP form. The calendar client itself becomes the sole RSVP tool.
But human behavior is unpredictable.
Sure is.
What happens when schedules change? If I click yes to an NBA game today, but 3 weeks from now my flight gets delayed and I have to change my response to no directly in my calendar app, does the organizer actually see that update?
The system handles that state change effortlessly.
Really?
Yeah, because it's a live API connection rather than a static download. Any subsequent changes you make are captured.
Right.
If you change your mind later, the system routes those changes in real time right up until the event actually concludes.
That's incredible.
The organizer always has an accurate, up-to-the-minute head count without ever having to send a single follow-up email asking for your final status.
From a user perspective, this totally respects your time. It eliminates the friction of redundant forms and completely silences those desperate "are you really coming" emails.
Exactly.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Because this infrastructure isn't just about making RSVPs more accurate, it's about fundamentally transforming the calendar into a dynamic marketing space.
Yes, this is the big shift.
There's a specific scenario outlined in the text regarding real-time updates, the story of Zach and Mandy, that illustrates how powerful this two-way pipeline really is.
The Zach and Mandy scenario is a perfect case study in bypassing the traditional email marketing funnel.
Let's walk through the exact workflow. Mandy is the customer.
Okay.
She has already used that seamless sports events page we just talked about to get a calendar invite for an upcoming NBA game, specifically the Denver versus Timberwolves game.
Got it.
The invite is sitting right there, secured on her personal calendar. Now, enter Zach, the event organizer. Zach needs to push a new merchandise promotion for this specific game. Normally, Zach would have his marketing team draft a blast email, knowing full well that the open rates on promotional emails are often abysmal, and Mandy will probably just archive it without looking.
Because Zach understands that consumer attention has shifted.
Right.
People guard their email inboxes, but they check their daily calendars constantly to see where they need to be. So Zach leverages the API connection he established when Mandy first requested the invite.
And the workflow Zach uses is surprisingly simple. He doesn't log into a massive email marketing platform. Zach goes into his own calendar client.
Just his normal calendar.
Yes. He edits the original calendar invite for the Denver versus Timberwolves game. He goes straight into the message body of that invite and UP dates it with a very specific targeted offer.
What does he type?
He types, "Merch offer booth 393 at the game, 25% off only," and then Zach simply hits Save.
The back-end routing triggered by that single save button is profound. Because Mandy received her original invite through that seamless API pipeline from the sports events page, Zach hitting save initiates an automated UP date process via the API.
So Mandy doesn't do anything.
Mandy doesn't have to refresh anything or check her email. She automatically receives the updated invite directly in her calendar client, completely populated with that new merch offer for booth 393.
She just checks her schedule for the day, taps on the game she's attending, and a 25% off merchandise discount is sitting right there in the event details. It's seamless. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this represents a massive operational shift for brands.
How so?
Historically, if an organizer updated a calendar invite, It was strictly for logistical reasons.
Right, the time changed, the venue moved.
The event was canceled. Those are purely operational updates. What we are seeing here is that calendars are now dynamic, direct-to-consumer marketing channels.
They're monetizing the calendar space.
Exactly. They can be actively utilized to drive last-minute ticket sales, push targeted merch discounts, and even deliver third-party insertions and sponsorships directly to the consumer, right where their attention is already focused and locked in.
If I'm an event organizer or brand manager listening to this, my immediate thought is about the technical barrier to entry. If I want to build these custom sports pages that trigger all this API magic, doesn't that require a heavy lift from my internal development team to wire everything up?
You'd think so, but no. The text breaks down the auto generation process, and it avoids heavy custom coding. Organizers utilize a multi-event configuration page. From the central hub, they can choose between a single event layout or a multi-event layout, depending on their needs.
It functions very much like a modern visual website builder. The organizer retains full control over the visual presentation and branding without needing to write the underlying API calls.
They can customize the hex colors, set the event dates, drop in optional brand logos, and even apply custom background URLs to ensure the page matches their specific corporate identity.
Highly customizable.
Very. And once they've configured the visual elements, the system automatically compiles the workflow and generates a clean, shareable URL. The complex calendar invite buttons for the individual sporting events are automatically injected right into the page architecture.
And the back-end benefits for the organizer extend far beyond just spinning up a nice-looking landing page. We have to look at the backstage data visibility.
The analytics.
Yes, because every single interaction, every click, every RSVP change is routed through the API. The organizer receives granular reporting. They get detailed reports containing all of that crucial YNM data mapped directly alongside the corresponding user email addresses, all neatly delivered in a CSV file format.
But what if I'm a massive university with dozens of different athletic departments, or a global enterprise running hundreds of distinct webinars across different product teams? Isn't managing all these individual event URLs and CSV files going to become a fragmented nightmare for the core administration?
That is where the domain owner perks come into play. The system is designed for enterprise scalability.
Okay.
For organizations managing multiple events and multiple organizers under one umbrella domain, all of these calendar invite events processed by the APIs are centrally rolled up. Whether the invites originate from individual email campaigns or from those custom web pages, the data is tracked and aggregated for all organizers operating under that specific domain owner. The macro-level analytics a central marketing team could pull from that consolidated data stream are highly valuable for forecasting attendance and engagement across the entire brand.
I want to pivot to a section of our source material specifically flagged as a nerd alert.
Here we go.
We're about to get a bit technical, but I think it's absolutely crucial we cover this. Understanding the underlying tech stack is what makes you realize just how robust and scalable this solution really is.
It really separates it from just a basic tool.
Exactly. We aren't just talking about a clever little script someone wrote over the weekend. We are talking about serious enterprise-grade cloud infrastructure.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of cloud computing, it is the invisible architecture that makes the seamless one-button customer experience possible. Without a highly optimized backend, the live synchronization of those RSVPs would collapse under the weight of thousands of users updating their calendars simultaneously.
Let's break down the specifics of this tech stack. The entire system is built and ready to be installed in any AWS Amazon Web Services account. It utilizes a CloudFormation template.
Right.
For anyone not elbow deep in software engineering, think of a CloudFormation template like a master architectural blueprint for a skyscraper. Instead of laying virtual bricks one by one, you hand this blueprint to AWS, and it builds the entire infrastructure, the servers, the databases, the security routing automatically.
It's infrastructure as code.
Spot on. This specific template deploys a CI/CD pipeline. Again, avoiding the heavy jargon, just think of a CI/CD pipeline as an automated assembly line for software.
Continuous integration and continuous deployment.
Exactly. It allows developers to constantly push updates and improvements to the front-end GUI, the graphical user interface the customer sees, without ever having to take the entire system offline. And that front end is hardwired directly to the back-end calendar invite server.
The author provides the exact scale of what that backend consists of, and it is substantial. The backend stack requires 30 distinct functions and 9 APIs.
Wow.
These components are entirely dedicated to managing CR root operations: create, read, update, and delete. That matrix of functions is the engine powering the REST API pipeline for every single embedded calendar invite use case.
30 separate AWS functions and 9 APIs just ensure that when Mandy clicks yes on her phone, Zach sees a yes on his dashboard.
Exactly.
The workflow mechanics of how an organizer actually interfaces with this massive backend on a day-to-day basis are really clever. They don't have to log into some complicated, intimidating AWS dashboard to send an initial invite.
No, they literally just use their normal everyday calendar client.
Right. They send the calendar invites from their own client to a specific email address determined by the calendar invite server administrator.
The system uses standard email protocols as the ingestion point. It effectively bridges the gap between everyday office tools and complex cloud architecture.
Let's look at how this works in practice using the demo provided in the text. In the demo environment, the REST endpoint is a simple email address, create@calendarsnack.com.
Easy enough to remember.
Yes. This address acts as the processor for the event data. When the organizer creates an event and adds that endpoint as a guest, the system goes to work. The endpoint attaches the event data based on the customer's email address from the calendar client. And here is a vital detail for how the system manages identity. The organizer's email address actually becomes the core user ID for all those CRU workflows.
The create, read, update, and delete actions communicating with the API. Tying the user ID to the organizer's email is how the system maintains perfect state management across thousands of concurrent events. As the text explains, individual calendar invite UIDs, unique identifiers, are securely stamped into the database.
Okay.
This allows the backend to meticulously track the lifecycle status of every single event. It explicitly knows if an event is new, if it has been recently updated, or if it has been canceled.
Wait, so when Zach was updating the merch discount for the Timberwolves game, how did the system know exactly who should receive that updated invite without accidentally sending duplicates to people who had already declined?
That is the power of the UID matching logic. When Zach edits the calendar invite and resends it, the backend receives that payload and immediately cross-references the UIDs against the database.
Making sure everything lines up.
Right. The data changes, like the new merch offer, are cleanly inserted, allowing the APIs to pull the most recent updates for display. Because the system tracks exactly which customer email holds the original UID on their calendar, any update or cancel command is automatically and exclusively routed to those existing holders.
So no one gets spammed twice.
Exactly. The matching logic acts as a strict traffic controller, preventing duplicate invites and ensuring the information displayed on the user's end is always perfectly synchronized with the database.
So what does this all mean for the future of digital communication? The author wraps up the piece with a look at AI futures, painting a picture of a digital landscape that looks very different from the manual processes we operate in today.
It's arguably the most disruptive element of the entire analysis. Because this entire tech stack is fundamentally constructed as an AWS messaging pipeline, it is incredibly flexible. The text notes that both the front-end and the back-end workflows are perfectly positioned to be operated by non-human entities.
Meaning AI operators, web crawlers, and AI agents could completely take over the content visualization and management?
Completely.
You wouldn't even need a human organizer like Zach manually typing in the merch discount. An AI agent hooked into the team's inventory system could notice a surplus of jerseys at booth 393 and automatically trigger the API update to all attendees' calendars mid-game.
The automation potential is vast, but the most massive implication detailed in the text centers on breaking current industry monopolies.
This is huge.
The author states that an AI agent farm could completely manage the entire life cycle of these events. The creation, the sending, the updating, and the tracking of all calendar invites entirely autonomously.
If an AI agent farm is managing all of that routing directly through this independent, serverless AWS pipeline, that means the system fundamentally does not need Microsoft or Google email and calendaring services to function.
That bypasses them.
It completely bypasses the traditional gatekeepers of our digital schedules.
The implications for enterprise independence are staggering. Right now, major brands are heavily reliant on Google Workspace or Microsoft 365 to facilitate the delivery of event data to their consumers.
Right.
If this independent API architecture handles the routing, the state management, and the automated updates, the consumer's calendar application simply becomes a display monitor. The brand owns the entire data pipeline from end to end, altering the power dynamics of direct-to-consumer digital communication.
We have covered a tremendous amount of ground today. To summarize our key takeaways from Greg Hanshen's analysis, we are looking at the death of the static ignored ICS file.
Finally.
It's being replaced by a live, interactive, data-gathering marketplace that lives directly inside your schedule. By utilizing a robust AWS backend with dedicated APIs, organizers can remove the friction of separate RSVP forms, automatically capture accurate YNM data, and push real-time, dynamic updates for tickets, merch, and promotions right to where the customer is already looking.
This raises an important question, especially when we consider that final point about AI automation and the bypassing of traditional email gatekeepers.
What's that?
If independent AI agent farms can autonomously push real-time updates directly to our schedules, populating them with live merch discounts, personalized ticket alerts, and dynamic content, will the calendar eventually replace the email inbox entirely as our primary interactive digital feed?
What a provocative thought to leave off on. If your calendar essentially becomes your highly curated, interactive inbox, the entire way we triage and manage our daily digital lives flips completely upside down.
It changes everything.
I highly encourage you to think about that dynamic shift the next time you glance at your schedule for the week. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We love exploring these massive infrastructural shifts in how our digital world operates, and we hope you walk away with a totally new perspective on the hidden power of something as simple as an add to calendar button. We will catch you on the next one.